Yeah, I think one of the hardest things about being a caregiver is kind of admitting that you are a caregiver, no matter what you are, because sometimes you feel like what we do with our
Mhm,
parents, even though they don't live that
mhm,
close to us, they're
mhm,
2, 3 hours
mhm,
away,
mhm.
we're still caregiving.
Right, exactly. So we wanted to bring somebody to talk to today, Wendy Taddeucci, who is a caregiver coach. And I think, Wendy, one of the things, as Mike's mentioning, that sometimes I feel like I felt like it didn't really count, that I didn't feel like I could count myself as a caregiver because I wasn't doing physical hands-on care with my mom, but yet I'm
Mhm.
managing doctor's appointments. Oh gosh, the orders for the blood work didn't come in. Hold on, you stay there. Let me call the doctor's office. I did that just yesterday. So I feel like,
Right.
why is it so important to still finally say, okay, even if I'm not doing physical caregiving, as long as I'm managing and involved, really makes me a caregiver.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question, Kim. And I hear this a lot. Am I doing enough to be qualified to be called myself a caregiver? Am I doing the right things?
Mhm,
I'm not hands on caregiving. So is this me? And
mhm,
yet, these individuals like you are doing all the things. And here's the problem, right? When they don't identify with themselves as being a caregiver, then they aren't able to ask for help because they
mhm,
haven't identified themselves as a caregiver.
Mhm.
And when you can't identify yourself as a caregiver, you don't ask for help, you don't ask for support because in your mind, that's not who you are. And
mhm,
Yeah.
what happens is when you don't ask for help, when you don't ask for support, you're in this all alone.
hmm
mhm,
You have no community, you have no circle of support. You are run down, you're frustrated, you are feeling resentment, you're feeling angry, you're feeling all the things, and you're in it on your own.
mhm,
And yet you are a caregiver. And
mhm.
once you can identify as such, that's when your world becomes so much better.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There are so many things. I hate to bring up examples because they're negative, but there's so many things that you can bring up that you admit to being something. You admit that you do something like that. And then supposedly it's going to make you feel better. In this case, I see it more of owning it. I'm going to own the fact that, yes, I'm a caregiver and I'm going to be
Yeah.
good at it. I'm going to get all the help that I need.
Yeah, exactly. Face it.
Yeah.
Face it, own it. This is who I am. This is part of who I am, right? It doesn't make me, it doesn't define me
Right.
totally, right?
Mhm.
But this is part of who I am.
Mhm.
Will you share a little bit about how you got so involved with wanting to help take care of caregivers? It comes from a
Yeah,
very personal experience.
yeah, both my mom and my dad. So I've been caregiving for my mom for the past 10 years. And when I say caregiving, I am doing the stuff in the background to make sure that mom has everything she needs. She's happy, she's healthy. I'm her entertainment at times, right? But she lives in a retirement community and they've got all the hard stuff to do. And I am so thankful for them, right? So it came from my mom and also seeing her caregive throughout my entire life, right? So from the beginning, I can remember her caregiving to her mother in law who
Mhm,
lived next door, and then to my father who passed away when I was 6. And I'll tell you about that. That's part of my story too, right? Saw her caregiving to him, saw her caring for her parents, saw her caring for my stepfather when he developed Alzheimer's. So I've seen her care. Like, this caregiving has been a part of my life
mhm,
in the fringes, right, for many years. Um, and so my dad passed away when I was 6 years old of cancer. And what happened was, and what my mom shared with me many years later, I was in my 20s, I think, when she said, your dad was taking your dad was taking his mother's prescription pain meds because he was experiencing symptoms, and they were pretty severe, I would imagine,
mhm,
to be taking prescription pain
mhm,
medication. So dad was caring for his mother who lived next door, right? And he worked full time. He was a farmer. He drove the school bus. He worked for a local farm co-op, spraying others' fields and doing all that stuff, and also taking care of me and mom and spending time, right? And so he was so engrossed in taking care of his mother, right? He didn't go to the doctor when he we wish that he would have, right?
Mm.
She passed away, and I don't know how long it was after that he finally did go to the doctor. When he went to the doctor, it was cancer. It had gone
Mm.
all throughout his body, and there was nothing that they could do.
Mm.
That's why I do what I do, because on my watch, that's not going to happen.
Mm. That I just can't imagine how difficult that was to find out at a later age, that
Right.
if dad had maybe, and we never know, but if he had gone
Right.
to the doctor and caught it early,
Yep.
maybe the outcome could have been very different. And so I see that really drives you, as the importance of caregivers, once you identify yourself as one, being able to ask for help and not let yourself run down. Because the truth is, if you don't take care of yourself as a caregiver, you
Mhm.
can't help the person you're taking care of
Right.
if you're not doing
Exactly.
well.
Exactly. 100%.
And I love the fact that you talk about kind of emulating your mom and seeing your mom be a caregiver, and that kind of drives you to be
Mhm.
something similar. Because I think Kim and I have talked about it in the past, that a lot of times what you've experienced watching other caregivers, because I watched my dad be a caregiver for my grandfather after he had a
Mhm.
stroke back around 1980. And in his later years, last few years of his life, my dad was a hands-on caregiver in so many ways. And that has
Sure.
kind of led me to show me
Mhm.
how I should help with my
Mhm.
mom and my dad.
Mhm.
Mm.
And I think it's
Absolutely.
so, I think it's good in that way, but it's also eye-opening that you should see how, not only how you do it, but how others do it, because
Mhm.
maybe you were just watching the way your parents did it, but maybe there are other ways.
Mhm.
Yeah, there are certainly other ways. There is no one way to be a caregiver.
Right.
And as long as you are, first of all, taking care of yourself,
Yeah.
Mhm.
first and foremost, right? Let me say this, that's the right way to be a caregiver. There is
Mm.
one right way. Take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm. So now that we have identified ourselves, that yes, we are caregivers, whether we are doing physical care
Perfect.
or just coordinating doctor's appointments and
Mhm.
helping them find the right place to live and making sure their yard gets mowed or whatever it is
Yeah,
that you're
all the
doing,
things.
all those
All
things,
those things.
helping with technical problems. What are some of the things that we can do to make sure that we can do it the best that we can? Because every situation is different. And I think we see this in the group all the time, that you can't make a judgment on how somebody else is doing it, because
No.
every situation is different. You don't know the family dynamics, the whatever else could be at play. So it's having just to be owning your own experience with your own parents or your
Mm.
in-laws.
Mhm.
But what are the
Mhm.
things that we can do as caregivers to make sure that we can be the best caregivers that we can be?
Yeah, of course. Great question. And the first thing is to face it, right? Face what you're avoiding. If you're avoiding calling yourself a caregiver, get your mind right with that and just say,
Mhm.
yes, this is who I am. This is
Mm.
part of who I am. Second question, this is a powerful, powerful thing to ask, right? As you are a caregiver, asking yourself, what am I doing to take care of me today?
Mm.
What am I doing to take care of myself? And if you have no answer, think of one, right?
Mhm.
Even just a very small step. Um, so, taking care of yourself, asking yourself that question, what are you avoiding? This is also a big thing, not just identifying yourself as a caregiver, but are you avoiding, are you feeling resentful to
Mhm.
your loved one? Are you feeling fear? Are you feeling anger? Are you feeling guilt? Acknowledge that. It's
Mm.
okay to feel all those things. It's
Mhm.
perfectly normal to feel all those things as a caregiver. So just notice it. When you can notice exactly what you fear,
Mhm.
then you can finally get some relief,
Mhm.
and also begin to take good care of yourself. So that's one step.
Mhm.
I think one of the hard parts is that every caregiver has a different situation, whether it's different
Totally.
relationships with mom or
Mhm.
dad, different financial constraints, different medical
Right.
problems with whom they're caregiving. So it's hard to say, well, do this, because everyone is different. But we have
Mhm.
so many
Mhm.
people in the group who say, "Oh my gosh, I'm having this problem with mom because she's upset about how the house isn't clean enough," or "I'm having this problem with dad because he
Mhm.
doesn't want to do anything." Do we need to do something to set the boundaries to be able to have a better relationship or a better form of communication with our parents?
Yes, of course. Strong boundaries are critical, and I'll give you an example. So one of my clients, Lauren, had no boundaries in the beginning, and as a result, she really hurt her back
Mm,
pretty badly, right? Trying to lift her mother-in-law up and off of the floor,
Yeah.
which she had no business doing, right?
No.
mhm,
She didn't know how to do it the correct way, and quite honestly, she's a very small woman, and just really hurt her back.
Hmm.
Through working with me, she set up really strong boundaries with her
mhm,
mother-in-law, with her husband. Lauren and her husband are caring for his mother, her mother-in-law, right? And when she has set up those strong boundaries, now they have things in place, right?
mhm,
If mom falls, this is what happens. It is
mhm,
not up to Lauren to pick her up off of the floor, nor
mhm,
should it be, right?
mhm,
So her mother-in-law has better care,
mhm,
and Lauren is beginning to take great care of herself. And in fact, her back is getting much better through
mhm,
chiropractic. And then also from working with me to release that
mhm,
anger and that resentment that she
mhm,
was feeling, right? Because that's part of it. If you are feeling that in your body is going to
mhm.
let you know about it.
Yes.
So what do you, because I know that we have people in the group who will say, I don't have time. My parent lives with me and
Mhm.
I'm on duty 24/7, in
Right.
some cases, especially if they're medical situations and they, can't afford necessarily to bring people in to help or things like that.
Absolutely.
Are there some creative solutions potentially that could help?
Yes, and so everybody's different, right? Every situation is different, but the one thing that I have found helpful in this case with the caregivers that are 24/7,
Mhm,
right, is to get a circle of support gathered around them. And what I mean by that is literally, I have had clients like list out your circle of support. Who makes you laugh? Who can come over and deliver a hot meal to you? Who
mhm,
can you cry to? Who can you just let it all out? Who can you call and say, can you sit with mom or dad
mhm,
for like half an hour while
Yeah.
I take a nap or take a shower or something like this, right?
mhm,
So get that circle of support, write those people down, right? And then reach out and ask for help.
Yeah, I
Good
guess kind of
ideas.
going back to like when we had newborns and you
It's similar.
needed to be able to
Yeah.
either have I'll watch your kid if you watch mine or different things
Yeah,
like that. So
exactly.
I guess it's really trying to take that minute to be creative and think of solutions rather than just thinking I've got to do it all myself.
Yeah. Again, take care of yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for these great ideas. I think that hopefully this will help our caregivers, who are all caregivers in our group, be able to really feel like, okay, I know, because I think people know that it's important to take care of yourself,
Sure.
but we don't often think about what could happen if we don't, and we really aren't any good to our loved one if we are not in good health ourselves.
Yeah. We appreciate all these tips. Thanks so much, Wendy.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Thank you.
A lot to think about because I think that is interesting that I think I was one that a lot for a long time just thought, well, I'm not really a caregiver. Does it count? And as the more time that I spend doing things to help my mom and or just thinking about things, you realize, yeah, I really am.
Yeah. And you don't just admit to it, you own it.
Right. Own it.
Right.
Exactly.
There you
Own
go.
it.
There you go. Hey, if you want to have any discussion about anything, any topics, let us know and we'll talk to an expert here on Parenting Aging Parents.